Hello all, welcome to Drawing from Home. I'm your host, Alan Bentley. Today we're going to continue our look at value drawings, and we're using this bunch of bananas here to kind of walk you through it. What you need to have for your home lesson is either bananas, a bunch, like 3 is perfect, or if you don't have bananas, please don't go to the grocery store. We're in the middle of a quarantine. Use what you have. If you have other fruits or veggies that are similar in structure, but by that I mean I'm looking for things that have multiple planes. Uh, Lemons, apples, you can figure it out. So to start, it's all vine charcoal just to get the rhythm of it, the basic placement. I'm not worried about any one banana, I'm just getting the basic curve of it. I want to talk to you about the way to measure this thing to find the structure of the bunch before we start. Finding the stem part is critical to the whole thing and deciding where that's going to be on the page. So I'm going to rough those 3 stems and how they come together in, and a little bit of each of the first rounded part. Again, this is all placeholder kind of stuff right now. Then you're going to use a measuring stick. I have a dowel rod here, but a pencil's great, to find the angle from stem to tip on each of these. So I'm holding that up from stem to the tip of the banana, finding the angle that is. Transfer it over here by the clock method. Or you can cheat and bring it across and adjust. So on your drawing, I need to see these lines embedded in the process. That shows really where you're coming from, how you found that this is the right end point. Then it's a matter of finding the curves and ending at the right place. The great thing about drawing bananas is every place that the peel would come apart at when you open it becomes a natural plane break as you move around the form. And you can see here how the top plane of the banana just catches the light differently than the side plane. So for our purposes of value drawing, it's really easy to make your value shift every time that there's a planar shift. So it becomes a good training for how the light shifts as the face of the object shifts. Your first drawing should be a line drawing. That's kind of a schematic of how the bunch is set up, where you're going through and laying in the angle lines from stem to tip, and then finding the planar shifts of the seams of the banana as it runs around. Really try to find the various curves and the basic structure of it. Treat it as a quick line drawing. Time yourself, make it a 20-minute drawing. Your main drawing will be on white paper, and it's a full value drawing of the bunch of bananas. For mine, I'm using a good sheet of paper, so I'm using a smaller piece, but yours should be a full size sheet of your white drawing paper. So I'm going to start with using the vine charcoal to rough in basically where I'm headed. Again, I'm not really looking for any one banana, but just kind of the basic curves of the shape to figure out where I want things to go. I'm just gesturing in where things fall. My main goal is to figure out where the stem goes. I changed my bunch of bananas because the other one was getting very ripe, and all the dark spots made the values harder to show on here. Okay, I think that's a pretty decent stem. Now I measure the angles to I measure from the stem to the tip of the banana. I apply that line here. I know this banana needs to end somewhere in here. Let me find the one on top. Again, I'm not going from I'm measuring from the very top part of the stem to the tip of the banana. I double check that a couple times. I'm not even going to worry about the third banana because I can't see the end of it, so it doesn't matter at all. I just need to worry about where this back of it will intersect this curve, where it runs into the other bananas. All I'm really worried about as far as implying that one. So I've got them kind of laid out here. Now I'm going to go through and use my brush, quiet down everything I just did, because this is a value drawing, not a line drawing. When using the brush, it's run across the whole drawing, not just any one part of it. I get a piece of charcoal that's broken down to a small stick, half, third, something like that. And I start going back and laying in my darks. This piece is too long for what I'm doing. I want to try to get a piece that's, this is the one I had. Try to find it. This one I had, this one I have now. I want one to be about as long as the other one felt too long and I couldn't make it fit on the banana the way I wanted it to. Now I'm going through and I'm laying in all the different planes of darkness. I'm not really worried if I stay in the lines or not. I'm just putting darks where I see darks. So much this drawing is going to be back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to lose parts. I'm going to find parts again. I'm going to recreate things. I'm kind of just putting darks down on any part that's in shadow, because I need a lot of charcoal down to make this work. I've got the cast shadow down here, so I'm going to put some charcoal down here. Cast shadow runs right off the page. So I'm going to take it right off the page. This whole inside of the banana in here is in shadow. The inside that curves in shadow. All right. Brush. Again, I'm not worried that my cast shadow is being made too big because of my brush. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I can use my dirty brush to put some value behind the bananas. And I'll show you why in 1 second. Now it's time to pull out the eraser and start going back in and bringing the light in. Remember what we talked about during a critique, which is it's all back and forth, the light and the dark. I like to think about the light as being like water, and it pours into the drawing. It strikes everything. It comes in from a light source. It hits the top. It splashes around the ground. It splashes back up as the bounced light below things. It really just fills everything in. Light can't just hit here. It also has to strike the floor out here. So you end up working back in and around all little parts of the cast shadow. Because the light's not going to hit this and not make this tabletop bright. So I got to keep coming back in and making the tabletop brighter. And please don't think about it as, well, I'm just drawing the bananas. I'll draw the bananas, then I'll worry about the background. It's not background, it's all one piece of paper. So everything's part of your drawing. If you get in the habit of thinking of it as the subject and the background, it's going to slow you down. It's all part of the same thing. With my eraser, I can come back through and draw in where some of these transitions happen at. I can add light back in, even the shadow. I don't worry about trying to make it the right value exactly, because it's really easy to take my brush and come back in and make that a darker tone. But it's still, this is still lighter than where the darker part of the shadow is. So everything gets erased back and forth. It's just, you can use the brush to quiet that light spot down again. I'll show you that again in a second. When my eraser gets black, it's no longer erasing, it's just smudging. So I have sandpaper stuck to a piece of wood, so you can find whatever kind of sandpaper you have in your house will clean it. Gone. A clean eraser erases, a dirty eraser smudges. And this is not a correction tool. It's not, oh, I made a mistake, I gotta fix it. Nope. It's light. It's about light. This is a bringer of light. And with this, you can get as detailed or as generalized as you want it to be. Remember, you're building this drawing up from very general lights and darks to very specific. I don't want to leave this line behind, so I'm going to go ahead and take my eraser out farther. I want it to feel like this light is against this gray. Even if I lose it, it's fine. I can always add more gray back here to make this light pop out. I'm not leaving lines around behind it to show my viewer, no, this is where it stops at. Trust that your viewer is smart enough to figure out what it is that you're doing. And if I need more dark back here, I can shade it in. That's fine. I like to put dark only in the shadows. And then with my brush, drag it where I want it at. And it's not like a coloring book where you put it in the right place one time and you're done. You're going to find it and lose it and find it again. So I wouldn't mind this being a little darker back here. So I'm just going to get some charcoal in my brush here and just put it back behind it. I know I lost my light of the top of the banana when I did that. It's fine. It's back and forth, back and forth. You'll find it and lose it 50 times. You should find it and lose it 50 times. Because each time through, you get to make little adjustments to where things fall. There's some bounce light on the underside of the banana here, so I'm going to go ahead and find that. Trying to follow those seams. This is all bounce light down here, but it's going to get to be too bright, so I got to deal with that in a second. But this is the basic process. I can do this all day long and make my drawing better and better, or worse and worse. That's okay too, because you lose them sometimes. They don't go the way you planned. And you have to think about these drawings as peaks and valleys. You'll have a good moment to the drawing, it's going great, and you work one step too far, and all of a sudden you're going downhill in a valley again. And that's fine. Don't panic and just stop and say, I guess I'll leave it here in this terrible state. You'll work it again, you'll start to come back uphill again, and you try to stop on a good peak. The trick is to stop on the right peak. It's never the first one. If it's the first peak, then you're stopping too early. You want to take it back and forth till you find it. But this is the basic process. I keep working my charcoal and then my eraser and the brush in between each of those every time. So it's charcoal, eraser, charcoal, brush, eraser, brush, charcoal, brush, back and forth like that. That's still too bright. Now it's not. But now this is dull. I'm going to pick up some brightness there. The last thing you're going to do before you stop this drawing is clean up your lightest lights one more time. Your drawing should take an hour and a half. Two hours? Whatever is needed to feel like you've figured it out. That's not going to be 10 minutes. And it's okay if you start to to lose it, you just rebuild. You're doing this in compressed charcoal. I started this in Vine and I switched to compress once I went in for my value. It's fine to start it in Vine charcoal, the value, but if you do too much of that, it just stays gray. You won't get the nice darks. Basic process. Value drawings. It's a back and forth the whole time. Okay, you got this.